Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen here with Ralph at the MMTV Igloo. During the holiday season, not everyone is fortunate, so if you can have a few bucks extra to spare, think about the Melrose Emergency Relief Fund that can be contacted versus via the mayor's office at City Hall. Sports has been very good to Melrose this year. A lot of highlights. We'll spend a lot of time talking about the Melrose Championship football team. This season, Hunter Adrian goes for his third consecutive New England wrestling title, which is amazing since that hasn't been done since the 1990 to 1992 era. And this year, Hunter will be wrestling at 120 pounds. And they have another state champion returning in Sean Herbert, who also is obviously on the football team. Somerset Berkeley went undefeated in field hockey to win the state championship. You say, why are we talking about field hockey? Well, they won with two boys playing on the team. So they're not the only males playing field hockey in Massachusetts, but talk about an uneven playing field. Lucas Crook is their star player. He had something like 55 goals this year. His sister also plays on the team. For all I know, he's been playing field hockey with his sister for a long time, but I'm sure this has been already decided in that there's no male field hockey teams, and as long as you wear the uniform, you're eligible to play.
What school was that?
Somerset Berkeley. I think, isn't that where Jerry Remy's from, Somerset, Mass?
I think so.
So, I mean, it's a little strange.
Oh, I know. I mean, no, they shouldn't be able to play. That's my feeling. What do you think?
I don't know. Years ago, Burlington had three boys playing on the volleyball team, and at the time the rule was they could only play in the back row. So they played Melrose, and Coach Shelley said, no, they can play all around, bring them up the front, no worries. So we were over in Burlington, and Paula stuffed the kid at the net like 2 times in a row. So, I mean, obviously for many schools they have boys volleyball, but it's a touchy subject.
I mean, they shouldn't be able to play. It's that simple. Males shouldn't be able to play in a female sport. They shouldn't be. Females should be able to play in a male sport. I mean, why don't they use common sense instead of this political correctness?
Well, it came out a few years ago when the girl won the state golf tournament, the boys tournament, and the boy who lost was quite gracious. He said she won. I mean,
but it comes down to this, right? She should have been able to play, all right, in a boys' sport. All right? I mean, boys are physically stronger than girls. Okay? Sure. That's the way it is. They should not be able to play in a female sport, but the females should be able to play in a male sport. And these people that are crying, why, if they can play in this, why shouldn't they? I mean, use your common sense and make the decision. Kid scores 50-something goals, you know? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well,
let him go play some other sport.
Well, he can't play field hockey in college. We know that.
I mean, that's ridiculous, Ron.
Recently, the Special Select Veterans Committee voted Marvin Miller and Ted Simmons into the Hall of Fame. Dwight Evans fell short. He only got 8 of 16 votes. Marvin Miller was the attorney who was helped critical in overturning the reserve clause. Now, during his lifetime, he never got in, and he told his family that he never wanted the award accepted. So his family is honoring his wishes and will not accept the entry, apparently. But they're saying that either Gene Orza or Donald Fair from the Players Association will accept the award on his behalf. So kind of a little bit of a wrinkle. Recently, Oklahoma City won a game. Apparently Chris Paul told the referees about the untucked shirt rule. If you go into a game in the NBA with your shirt untucked, it's technically a delay a game and can be a technical foul. So he ratted out the player from the other team, and they scored on a technical foul and won. So apparently there's some hard feelings, but Paul's one of these guys who'll do anything to win. I mean,
there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
that's a rule.
Compared to other stuff that he's done to win, he's kind of a dirty player.
But he didn't have his shirt tucked in?
He had his shirt tucked in, but some player who was coming into the
No.
game from the other team.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I mean. The other
Right.
player didn't have his shirt tucked in.
Exactly. So there wasn't any question the shirt wasn't tucked in.
Well, yeah, basically they should probably give you a warning. And that rule, they should say, you're going to get one warning. If it happens again, you get a technical.
Yeah, I don't know what I mean, clearly there's no advantage to playing without a shirt tucked in, but anyway, that's the rule. So it's a little bit of an interesting wrinkle. Now we have the college football playoffs coming up pretty soon, and they really should be pretty good games.
What are they, next weekend?
Yeah, I think so. It's around the New Year's. But the first round is LSU versus Oklahoma and Clemson versus Ohio State. I think most people think that LSU should win the first game, but as far as Clemson and Ohio State, that should be a tremendous football game.
Who would you pick? Who do you pick to win the whole thing?
I think I like Clemson.
I do too.
I think
Even though they haven't played the same schedule as LSU, I like Clemson to win it.
I think Lawrence is fantastic. I mean, obviously Burrow won the Heisman Trophy, and he's a terrific player, but Clemson's been there and done that, so
He's
we'll
a good
see.
story too.
Yeah.
That's,
He is.
he had an unbelievable season.
So there are alternate routes to the NBA being developed, including the G League. And James Wiseman, who was suspended for the first 12 games by the NCAA, he was signed by Memphis, where Penny Hardaway is the coach. Hardaway was his AAU coach and apparently paid the family $11,500 to help them relocate, so apparently to be able to play for him. Now, other players like LaMelo Ball is over in Australia playing instead of playing college basketball. And there are other players. Darius Baisley totally skipped his college season a while back and is playing for Oklahoma City, and he's making $2.28 million. So lacking a college degree didn't hurt him too much.
No.
So it'll be interesting to see. If a high school player, you can't go directly to the NBA, but if you go to the G League, how's that going to work? You do go to the G League as a free agent, and then you're going to be drafted by somebody from there.
How do they let you in the G League? Isn't that part of it, that you have to have 1 year college?
So
or 1
far,
year
but they're talking about changing that rule. So the big loser in all of this is the NCAA, because there's no prohibitive favorite right now. Teams like Duke have already sustained a loss to a lower echelon Division I team. So we'll see what happens. Now, we really need to talk at length about Melrose's outstanding football team that's won the state championship for the second time in 3 years. A former Wakefield coach had come into my office recently and said he thought Melrose was the best team in the playoffs based on how they played the game, and he said he watched all the games. So Ralph had the privilege to broadcast the game. What were your observations?
Yeah, they're the only undefeated team in the state. Mansfield ended up losing too. So that's something right there. Well, we know they're one of the top 5 programs in the state the last 10 years. It's unbelievable with Coach Morris, with the great coaching staff he has in Kent, Jim Kent, who coaches the defensive line. Morris coaches the offensive line. They both do an unbelievable job every year. But, it was good, and I said during the game, I said, sometimes a team, because of the schedule and the teams they play, get to a certain spot because of the schedule. But Melrose is there. You knew they were the favorites going into the game. That's a great feeling to have. You're not there just praying that you can win that game. You're going in as a favorite, knowing if you play your game, you're going to win it.
Well, they had a bye coming in because Plymouth
Yeah.
South had to play the week before.
But they had to play the week before 2 years ago when they won it.
Right.
Remember that? They had to play that extra game. But what they had is both lines dominated the game, number one, against Plymouth South. Plymouth South had a couple of big plays early on to stay in the game. But you could see as the game was going on that they were going to control the game. And Fennell in the first half was unbelievable.
The blocking, both the offensive line, the backs with Pesci or Hickey blocking were spectacular as far as really kicking people out. And they won the game in the trenches, no question about it. They were exceptional.
But in the first half, it was all Fennell. He's an unbelievable runner. and he's a junior. He has another year, and he's got a great arm. Threw a couple of real good bullet passes. But what he does is he gets the ball, he sees the holes. He might hesitate for a split second and then explodes through you. Positive yardage the whole first half.
Well, there were a lot of key parts to the game in the second quarter when they went on the 99-yard drive. That was phenomenal. In the toward the end of the third quarter, they had a 4th and 8 in Plymouth territory around the 30, and there was an obvious pass interference call. Right. It was a correct call. Apparently, it was on the replay board. Nobody was whining about it, but that gave Melrose a key first down en route to the go-ahead touchdown, and then obviously Pesci's punt return for a touchdown, which was a great run, but I think the Plymouth's tackling kind of failed on that one.
But you look at them, you talk about the lines, they dominated, but you look at Pesci, who was the player of the game. You got the MVP out of the game, Cusalito, who had an unbelievable season. You got Hickey, a running back. He didn't do much running in the first half. It was all Fennell. But in the second half, Pesci and Hickey took over the game.
Yeah, Hickey had a half dozen runs, 5 to 7 yards, that were just bulwark, crashing into people and carrying them 2 or 3 yards, kind of Larry Zonka style.
He's going to have a big year next year, too. You got Fennell and him, and then you got a couple of the big linemen back and a couple of the cornerbacks and split ends back. They're going to have another strong team, but they were just much better than Plymouth South, and just dominated the game. They dominated.
Right. It was if you said what one word summed up the game, it was toughness. They just were phically tougher than Plymouth, although Plymouth looked like they might have been bigger, but they weren't tougher.
They had a real good line, Plymouth. Plymouth their defense averaged giving up 11 points a game. Melrose had to be way lower than that. They had to be in the single digits giving up, because they had so many games where they won and only gave up one score.
Yeah, the games were shortened down to 10 minutes per quarter. And then the other thing that was interesting is there were so many long drives. I would guess that each team probably only had 6 or 7 possessions.
The first half, it was unreal how fast it went by. But it's just a great game. They were a dominant team, one of the top. They had them 5th in the state.
Right.
But I don't know how you don't rate them number 1 in the state. They're the only team that was undefeated.
Now, Catholic Memorial lost, right?
They lost to St. John's. They beat St. John's earlier in the year. So I don't know how they do that rating, but just because they're in Division 4, they beat Revere, they beat a great Marblehead team.
Right. You have the polls, and then you have the Max Preps computer poll, which looks at strength of schedule, and probably because Melrose is in the Middlesex League Freedom Division, some of their opponents aren't as tough in that division.
But look at Lincoln Sudbury. They beat them like 41-7. And Lincoln Sudbury, I believe they had a pretty good year after that. Look what they did to Revere. They shut down Revere. They pummeled Revere.
Well, as we said so many times, they play complementary football. They're good in every division. They don't beat themselves. There are a few more penalties during this game than the usual game. And for the most part, they don't turn the ball over. So you have to beat them. They do not give you the game.
And they had a bunch of great performances. Pesci was unbelievable both ways. Hickey was really good. Fennell was unreal in the first half. Both lines were tremendous. The linebackers, the cornerbacks, everybody played great football. And I don't know how you compare them to the team that won it 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't know that you can.
All the teams have been really good. And what can you say about Coach Morris and the coaching staff?
Right. As Gentili was saying, well, there was talk like after Pedrini graduated that the talent level is going to have a big fall off. Well, sure doesn't look like it with 2 championships in 3 years, and point differential, they had to be up there among the leaders in the state because they won most games in blowouts, and they could have been a lot worse. There were games when they were ahead by 5 touchdowns at the half.
And I don't know, they had, I counted the numbers. I don't know if they have 18 sophomores and 11 juniors, or 11 sophomores and 18 juniors. But they got a lot of players coming. They're losing a ton of talent.
Oh,
But
sure.
every year, 1 year to the next year is unbelievable, the difference. The kids are like 10 pounds heavier, much stronger, quicker. In that program that they have up there, and with some of the talent they have coming back, Jefferson, I forget his full name. Yeah, Jefferson's. That kid there is unbelievable. He's number 75. He's back next year. He's going to lead both lines. And they're just going to work harder. They got another linebacker who'll play with Hickey in the middle. Couple of kids that look like they're good athletes. And all their special teams are all young, most of the kids. Half the kids on the special teams are all sophomores. So, they're going to be back next year, stronger. And they're going to be battling again.
Yeah, they really didn't have any weaknesses. And as we said, they avoided playing bad football. So it's really positive to see success. And I think the success spills over somewhat to the other sports. I was trying to look up the Division III Dalton Globe Scholastic ratings, because the fall sports teams had pretty good records, but it wasn't listed right now. So, I mean, they've got to be in the top 10 programs of Division
the volleyball, too.
Yeah, volleyball was really strong. Some of the programs which hadn't won a whole lot did win more this year. So it's just great to see the kids, the families experience the success, and of course the coaches who put in a lot of time as well. So we've seen a little bit of basketball so far. Girls basketball is 2-1, and they're off to a reasonable start. They're playing at a controlled tempo, playing really good defense. The Middlesex League is a little bit down this year, it looks like. Belmont, who looked to be the prohibitive favorites, lost at least one girl to transfer. And that's a big thing now. You're seeing that everywhere, where coaches and communities are unhappy because the private schools are absorbing some of the talent.
Yeah, and I am looking at all three games. The game against Stoneham, they won at home. Didn't play great, but they were the better team. The game against Arlington's top player was sick, but she played. She didn't start the game.
Yeah, Connolly.
And that game I was impressed because they had a bad second quarter. Second half, they outscored Arlington by 1 point, I believe. They played a lot better in the second half. It's a team run that their 11 players know the game. They're basketball players. Some teams have like the last 3 or 4 aren't going to get in unless, it's a big winner. And a lot of teams have that. These girls, they can go from 1 to 11, and any one of those 11 players could help the team win. But I think it's going to be a fun year. I think they're going to be in just about every game. That Arlington game showed me that. And then they came back against Watertown. Now, Watertown played better defense than Arlington did. And Melrose ended up scoring, I believe, 43 or 4 points, beating them by 5. And Mary Kate Mahoney and Centrella, both of them played good.
Right. And
Sophia and Adriana both played good.
the boys program has a new coach, and they're also Cusolito's. I don't know when he's able to come back. I heard that he was off out of the boot and not on crutches, but that's not exactly basketball shape. After I'd heard he had a fibula fracture, was the outside bone in the leg. So obviously not having your point guard is a significant disadvantage. But they had a tough time over at Watertown the other night, which is not surprising. Watertown's been outstanding with Steve Harrington at the helm. I think they've won 3 state championships over the last decade.
They got killed in that game.
Yeah, Watertown won by 30.
They must be strong, real strong again.
Yeah, Watertown's a powerhouse. Steve has total control of the program from youth basketball up through high school, and he's in the Brandeis Hall of Fame. He was an outstanding baseball player and basketball player over in Wakefield. Hold him in high regard. So we'll be right back. Welcome back. Today we have Bill Donovan here for our sports conversation, and naturally we have to talk about the AFC East for life champions New England Patriots, who won their 11th consecutive AFC East title yesterday. Bill?
It's been a pretty good run, hasn't it? Not much to complain about in Patriot land, but we'll always find something. But they looked really solid yesterday, probably the best overall performance of the season. Offensive line looked like it. We don't know what happened to Cannon. They took him out, so that would be a big loss if they lost him. But Sony Michel had some room to run. And, offense, to me, the key is always the offensive line on this team, especially obviously offensively. Offensive line starts coming together. I like their chances a lot more.
That was basically a shock watching the way the offensive line played yesterday. The time they gave Brady, you knew Buffalo, they don't blitz. They just use the 4 linemen, and sometimes they back one of them off, so it's usually 4 linemen. So the Patriots did a good job on that. You wonder why they didn't blitz, especially in the second half.
Yeah.
But it was mostly a 4-man rush.
Well, they really jam up the middle. When they line up, you see 8 or 9 people in the middle of the field. They don't want those crossing routes for Edelman. They didn't double him except for a few occasions, which, it seems like that's the logical thing because the Patriots don't have any other players who can even come close to beating you deep. Did Dorsett even play yesterday?
He had 5. I think he had 5 snaps. I think that
he
was his
in
total.
there at times, but
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening there. He's the one guy that can get downfield, but
He seems to always be in and out of the doghouse.
Yeah.
Dorsett. He'll go a few games where he plays a bunch, then he goes a few games where he doesn't play hardly at all. The kid who was probably going to get some more time in his place was Myers. He's another guy who likes they run crossing routes like they do with Edelman. So the whole key, you just keep Brady upright. You give him an extra second and a half. He's going to find you open. And the Killer Harry looked pretty decent yesterday. Real physical.
I'd say the unsung hero yesterday was Landon Roberts.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you saw his quote. He said, whatever my position is, offense, defense, special team, I run over MFers. So, he says, and I enjoy doing it.
yeah, he played well. I mean, I was watching his blocks from behind the quarterback. They were showing that. A couple of really good blocks. But Michel ran strong.
Yeah,
he
he
ran
did.
hard like he did last year in the playoffs.
Right, they didn't take too many tackles for losses because it's too easy for Michel, these weak pitch outs. They were in the red zone, first down, and they had some kind of ridiculous misdirection play with a pitch, and they lost 4 yards on that. I thought that was a terrible call. But other than that, for the most part, even if you only get 2 yards on first down, well, it's better to be 2nd and 8 than 2nd and 14.
Well, we've seen enough of Michel so far, the 2 years that he's been on the team, that he's not the type of guy that's going to get the handoff or the pitch and juke a couple of guys right away. He's the type of guy who's a straight line guy. So he definitely is a guy that's going to have to be able to see a hole and hit it. He's not going to be able to create something. He's not that type of a running back.
But he was strong. He was strong yesterday. I mean, he was hitting hard when he was,
Because there was some holes.
Times during this year, he wasn't getting that extra yard or two.
And he's small. He's not that big of a guy either. He's kind of a tiny guy.
And the other guy who you don't really expect so much but came through was Folk. I mean, the extra points don't always go 1 yard inside the goal post, and he hit the 51-yard field goal.
The ball comes off his foot really well. Compared to was it Nugent?
Oh,
Yeah.
Nugent was like going like this. The ball comes off his foot really. So, I have confidence in him. But how about Burkett after that fumble?
Right. So he redeemed himself after the fumble. Obviously, I'm sure that's in the back of his mind. I have to make up for it. So, the problem with Burkett is always the same. He can't stay healthy. So
Yeah, you want him healthy for the playoffs. You want him healthy this time of year, and he definitely comes up with big plays. Brady's confident in him, and I just wish they had that receiver that could go downfield and get open.
Well, I guess the other question is when Edelman got called for offensive pass interference and he went down, they said he was in the concussion protocol and he's okay. Like, he's okay? You had a concussion and you're okay? I don't think so.
Yeah, he had to go to the locker room, too.
Well, you know why? Because he laid in the ground I think he was trying to sell that it wasn't pass interference when he went down. But
Well, usually when you watch the play and the guy is wide open, it's always a pick.
Yeah.
But the Patriots have more problems with that. Why don't they just run and stop and look for the pass?
Right.
They're picking the guy, and it's a good, clean pick. Same thing with Watson when he got called that time. He ran right into the guy.
Yeah.
I said, just run at him and just turn around for the ball.
Yeah.
and let them run around you.
Yep.
That's what happens to the Patriots half the time.
Well, it's not a smarts problem.
They-
I mean, Watson had a 45
yeah.
Wonderlic score, so he's smarter than everybody else on the team.
But they got to work on that part of it because they've gotten called a lot this year on offensive pass interference.
The other play, it looked like a broken play, but obviously it wasn't when they had the 31-yard pass to Burkhead. Because it looked like
Yeah.
somebody stumbled out of the blocks. But, it's hard. If you can get the running back isolated on a linebacker, usually they're going to beat him.
But Brady had a great game. I mean,
He did.
I say a great game he had.
Right.
To execute that game plan, the way they executed it,
Right.
not throwing the ball downfield.
Against that defense, too.
You know,
of his
that's solid defense.
Yeah, of his incompletions, I don't know what percentage of them were throwaways, where he just clearly was getting rid of the ball.
The other area that's going to be much improved if this offensive line, again, depending on Cannon, what's wrong with him at right tackle, is inside the red zone. They've had trouble in the red zone all year. That's because if you can't run the football, and that's where they really miss Gronk, too, when you get down inside the 20, 25-yard line. That seam route right down the middle, he just takes two people up, and it just opens up so much more underneath. Him not being there, the offensive line struggling to make holes, and even to pass protect at times. That's the reason for the trouble inside the red zone,
The
right
guy
there.
who was brutal yesterday was Sanu. He looked like he was just standing there when Harry got broken up on that end
yeah.
around. He didn't block the guy. He was supposed to block the guy, and he stood there.
Yeah, and it looked like his ankle's okay. It looked like he was moving fine. So I'm not
Yeah.
sure whether that they can use that as some sort of an excuse.
That would have been a big gain, too.
He's got
All
some-
he had to do was make that block.
He's got some kind of. I think Sanu's got an option for next year. I think the Patriots hold the option. If he's playing like this, there's no way he's earning $6 million from
Get
them.
one of those LSU or Alabama ends coming out.
Yeah, I
You
think
see,
there's a
one
couple
of
I think
those-
that are
They're
slated
unbelievable.
pretty
You
high.
talk about getting downfield.
Well, first they have to worry about what are they going to lose? One of their supplemental draft choices next year.
know.
For the
That was
you
dumb, though.
don't, you don't have to tape Cincinnati's bench. You could probably just show up and beat Cincinnati.
But they weren't even involved in it, the Patriots. The Patriots team was not involved in it. Belichick didn't even know about it.
See,
But you
if
think
the-
someone would tell them, make sure you don't do
that's
that.
the key. The thing is that it's Kraft Productions. So let's go on the theory, and it seems accurate that Belichick had nothing to do with it as far as what they were going to film. Isn't it up to the organization to say, listen, if you're going in the press box, keep the camera away from the field? Who dropped the ball?
Yeah.
Who didn't tell these people?
Well, the
Keep-
producer's supposed to know that.
Well, how about making sure he knows it? Considering the Patriots' history, they're not going to get any benefit of the doubt in a case like that.
I thought I read on Twitter, somebody tweeted, I don't know if it was Zolak or Matt Chatham, that neither side was signaling anything in from the bench. So, I mean, whatever.
The other thing that surprised me when I seen the video, surprised me that the video was from behind the bench. So it's not like you're looking directly at the team and you can maybe see sequences with reserves
Yeah.
and plays. The camera was behind the bench. What are you really picking up on that, if anything?
They'll probably lose one of their third picks.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the
they
one.
lost their second one with Sanu.
Yeah.
Maybe Sanu will come up with a big play to win the Super Bowl. Who knows?
Mike Reese
No.
had some tidbits in his column today. He said that on Friday, call it Fat Friday, they bring in special food for the players. So it was Chick-fil-A Day. And he said when they bring in Chick-fil-A at home on a Friday, they're 32-2. So I guess the players like Chick-fil-A.
Keep bringing it in.
And they had a nice piece on Matthew Slater and said that obviously his dad, Jackie Slater, was a tackle for the Rams for 20 years and seven-time Pro Bowler. He said, it's kind of amazing that my son's been a Pro Bowler 8 times doing something that most players would have no interest in doing whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know?
But I was surprised. I was happy with the way Brady played. You had to think that he was going to come up with a big game. You were hoping he did. I mean, if he had a game like he had the last few weeks, then you'd really be worried. But he came up with a great game. But I was surprised at Buffalo. I thought Buffalo stunk yesterday. Everybody said it was a great game. I mean, that game should have been like 37-10. When you really look at the way the Patriots dominated them, and every time Patriots are driving, Burkhead fumbles. Next time that they score a touchdown, next time they get inside the 10-yard, the 15-yard line, they would have had 2nd and 3 on Burkhead's run. they call bowling for a block in the back.
But-
Yeah.
That knocks them back 15 yards.
Well, so I mean, I'm sure tomorrow.
And then 2 offensive pass interference calls against them that knock them back.
Tomorrow
Keep
when
shooting themselves in the foot.
Well, it's either maybe they're going over the film today with the players. I'm sure Belichick's saying we did a lot of bad football. We gave up basically two touchdowns on long passes. We can't do that ever.
Right, and then you look at the offense. They scored 24 points, but you really look at the way they dominated them. I mean, Buffalo, to me, was a big surprise because the way their defense was supposed to be one of the best in football.
Yeah.
Patriots did just about anything they wanted
they
against
wanted.
them. When they got in trouble, again, was the 3 penalties.
Yep.
The block in the back knocks them back. The 2 offensive pass interference calls knock them back. I mean, they were moving the ball. Buffalo had those 2 big plays, but other than the 2 big plays,
Well, those penalties you're talking about changes everything. Instead of a first and
course.
10 or a second and 5, now you're looking at first and 20, second and 25, second and 15. That changes the whole series.
that game at halftime should have been 24-3 if things went the right way. It's like I said earlier, things were happening to the Patriots that normally happen to other teams
Yeah.
in big games, but the Patriots still came out and won the game.
Yep.
Well, I'd like to be a fly on the wall when they show the Harry reverse and the Brady block and hear what the other players are saying.
That was a good block,
It
though.
was,
was
a
a
great,
good block.
It was a great block.
Was a
He
good
got him
block.
right in the thigh and upended him. Was
But-
that Tre'Davious White?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the big mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But wouldn't you think that Buffalo would have played better than that?
Well, I mean,
The
that's kind
defense.
of what they do. I mean,
But the offensive line dominated them. And they've had all these #1 draft picks playing on the defensive line. They're supposed to be great players. I mean, the Patriots, hopefully it's just like last year when they.
well, the other thing, the Patriots felt they got cheated on the Pro Bowl selections. Obviously,
Who made it? Gilmore?
Hightower, Gilmore, and
Slater,
Slater.
yeah.
And there was a lot of feeling that a guy like Van Noy had an outstanding year.
Guy had a good
Guy-
year.
yeah.
I thought
Guy
Van
was
Noy
really
had a better
good.
year than Hightower, to be honest with you.
I mean, Edelman has over 1,000 yards and almost 100 catches. A guy like Tyreek Hill has something like 40-something catches, and he makes the Pro Bowl because he's fast.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing for Edelman is, these guys look at the wideouts, the guys on the outside. They tend to get more respect than the slot guys. I think the further we go, I think more slot guys like Beasley, and
Beasley.
and Thielen and people like that play in the slot a lot and do the cross. They're going to start to get a little bit more attention, I think, nationally.
They wouldn't give Beasley the contract, and they throw the money away on Brown, and they could have had a guy like Beasley. Imagine having Beasley in that lineup now,
Be nice.
with him and Edelman.
Well, in the offseason, you think, what's their first priority is going to have to be offensive line because Tooney is up for a contract.
Well, they got to
and-
sign him.
Well, I mean, you're looking at $10 to $13 million a year, and that's not usually how they operate. So
Well, they gave $10 million to
Mason.
Mason.
Well, what they might do is just slot Isaiah Wynn back at the guard position
Get
is
a
really where he should be
tackle.
and go look for a tackle in the draft or something like that because you got to hope Andrew comes back healthy. They definitely missed Andrews in the
Well,
running
if
game. You
Brady
can see-
leaves, don't they save over 20, up near 30 million?
I guess that's the fly in the
If Brady
ointment, not
leaves,
knowing what he's going to
That's
do.
like almost, isn't it going to be a $30 million hit unless they sign him for so many years? And
Yeah, I don't know what his intent is. Obviously, his house is up for sale. Guerrero's house is up for sale. If you said which team is going to take him at that age, and you're probably not going to sign him for 1 year. You have to sign him for multiple years. So you're really
It's got to be limited.
right.
It has to be limited.
Right. So you're really, I mean, if you
give
said
him a 2-year contract, Brady. You're going to have to.
what team if you give them a quarterback is going to make all the difference in the world? Chicago Bears,
Yeah.
something like that. But I don't know what their cap
Yeah, it would
situation
have to be a
is.
team that doesn't have faith, obviously, in their current quarterback, like a Trubisky. Now, to me, Dallas doesn't make any sense because Prescott isn't a great quarterback. He's a guy you can have for the next 6-7 years. So you bring Brady in, you lose Prescott, and
Well,
then
you're
Brady
not gonna do
retires.
that.
Now you don't have a quarterback.
Dallas isn't
so
gonna do
Dallas
that.
doesn't make any
They won't
sense.
do that. And then Brady's not going to want to go to a team that's okay.
Why would he?
That's crazy.
Start over?
I mean, what team that's really good? Tennessee wouldn't want him now, unless they lose. What's his name?
Tannehill.
Tannehill.
Probably
Tannehill.
has multiple. He has multiple years left on his deal. He's not that old.
He's 32, believe it or not.
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's compared to Brady,
Oh,
that's
I know.
10 years
Oh.
younger. So, I mean, when yesterday, he has a chance to scramble. There's nobody in sight, and he can
I know, I thought he was in easy.
Yeah.
not even close. But
He took the hits, though. He took 2 hits there.
I heard his press conference after the game. He said, except for throwing the ball, I'm not really good at anything, which is fair.
Well, his brain is the best.
Another team that they already have a quarterback who nobody should have any faith in is San Diego.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody talks about Rivers. I mean, I can't believe when I hear Rivers talked about as Hall of Fame quarterback. He's
that
a
was-
disaster.
But that was an amazing game yesterday. It really was when you think about it. I mean, with all the bad things that happened to them, they still win. They come out with that game plan, and Brady has a game like that. The offensive line is great.
Well-
Michelle's the best he's been all year.
Well, and they're really tough at home.
And this is their time of year. This is when they usually start to put it together, you know?
So, Jeff's got a headline that says Charger pursuit of Brady would benefit everyone except the Patriots.
Okay.
Who?
San Diego's not going to go for Brady.
Is Rivers quitting?
No, Rivers.
not
He's
gonna
got
go
he's got to
for him.
play forever. He's got like 50 kids.
Yeah. I tell you, if Oakland wasn't going to Vegas, that probably would have been the perfect spot for him because from what we hear, Gruden doesn't like Derek Carr. Carr's a free agent after this season. Of course,
But
they
you're-
are going to Vegas, and he's from the Bay Area, Brady.
But you
So-
heard what Brady's father said. It all comes down to Belichick. Does Belichick want him or not?
Yeah.
If Belichick wants him, he's going to be with the Patriots.
Well, he's got Stid. Isn't that funny listening to Belichick call Stidham Stid the other day in the press conference? You don't hear Belichick say
get
nicknames too much.
You get Gronk coming back next year.
You better
I mean,
gain
who
some weight.
knows? The one area that worries me is you don't have Gronk now. You have Edelman. Who else is going to come through in the big games? Are they going to be able to do what they did yesterday against some of these other teams that blitz? I mean, you're going to have Baltimore. If they go up against Baltimore in a championship game, the AFC championship
Well,
game,
they're gonna be coming
they're going
at
to be blitzing them the whole game.
Well, it's hard to figure that you can beat Baltimore scoring less than 28 points, and that's not going to be easy.
But don't forget, that Baltimore game, that game should have been tied at halftime. If White didn't trip over his own lineman, he would have ran in for a touchdown, he would have tied it. They get the ball, they're driving, and Edelman turns it over.
Yeah, that was a
Instead
huge
of them
turnover
getting
right
7,
there. Yes.
Baltimore gets 7, then the Patriots come back and get a touchdown, and then Baltimore has 2 long drives. So when you really think about it, the fumble, tripping over the lineman, and the 2 long drives, I mean, the defense didn't play well there.
Yeah.
But you think one of those drives, if they could have handled them and get Brady the ball back, after they scored that touchdown, that's 3 drives in a row from the first half into the second half that the Patriots drove the ball down the field.
Right down the field.
And those long drives, if they could have stopped them on one of those drives, I mean, the Patriots the offense was starting to feel good. I mean, you get them in that game again, they've seen them one time, hopefully they'll beat them. I think they're going to beat Kansas City if Kansas City meets them.
It would be great if they could give Edelman 2 weeks rest. Just give him a break so he could heal up something.
They're not going to rest them against Miami. You have to win that game.
I hope they do.
Because unless KC loses today.
Yeah.
If KC loses today, then they're guaranteed the 2 seed.
Then you see a bunch of people sit against Miami.
Then you won't see Edelman playing.
Yeah.
You may not see Brady playing. But now do you want to give them
3 weeks off.
Yeah.
It'll be 3, right?
Well,
3 weeks off?
Yeah.
Well, 2 game
2
weeks.
games, so it's
Right.
basically 3 weeks since your last game.
well, I think that they have enough. We never really know who's injured and to what extent. Like Mason's had a terrible year, so presume that he's got something that, shoulder, knee, whatever.
Yeah.
It's giving him trouble.
Well, they all played great yesterday. Even what's his name? Who was the guy that went in for Cannon?
Newhouse.
Newhouse.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that we forget is
He played pretty good
He's
too.
scary, though.
Yeah.
He's scary.
all the other teams are equally banged up to the Patriots players because that's the nature of the game.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit of interest in the byplay between Harry and Tre'Davious White. So, obviously there's something going on there that those guys are not going to like each other for the foreseeable future.
Well, Gronk can't stand them, that's for sure. That's the problem here. Remember Gronk?
Yeah.
Gronk jumped on him that time.
That's
Isn't he
what,
the
yeah,
guy?
at Buffalo where he jumped on his back.
And they only had one kickoff return, right? Buffalo, because Bailey got the rest of them deep enough in the end zone.
He's another unsung guy who's done a great job kicking off, punting.
Although Bajorquez, whatever his name is for Buffalo had forced the Patriots to take the ball over at the 1 yard line, and he punted really well yesterday. So
Can they ever Belichick has got to stop on receiving a punt, not having anybody back there.
yeah, when
I said,
it falls at the
I'm
20,
screaming at
the
him.
20 and rolls to the 5, that's
5, yeah.
killing you.
I'm screaming at him, what are you doing? And then one time he did send them, they weren't going to do it, but when they moved the guy off the tight end, the guy that was on the outside, then they moved Sanu back.
Especially with an offense that has had trouble moving the football. You don't want to get possession at the 5 or the 10 yard line.
And you'd think that opponents would be worried about the block kick phenomena since the Patriots had 4 so far this year, so they would pay a little bit more attention to keep defenders in. So.
And they should have never got rid of Gunner. Now they have Sanu back there. At least he was potentially able to run it back. He'd always go straight ahead and get 10 yards on every punt. And for some reason, they said he was injured, but they just cut him.
We'll be right back. The hot stove is finally heating up a little bit, and the chief beneficiaries so far have been the New York Yankees. I'm sure Ralph's going to want to talk about that. Dallas Keuchel recently signed with the Chicago White Sox, who've opened up their coffers a little bit. Keuchel's a former Cy Young Award winner with Houston. He got 3 years and $55 million. Garrett Cole from Houston went to the Yankees for 9 years and $324 million. I mean, it's clearly for the next 3 or 4 years, that's going to be a great addition for the Yankees. You know, down 5 or 6 years from now, that's probably not going to look like a good contract, but the Yankees, they want to win now, and I can't blame them for making the move. The Tigers got Scope, who's a power-hitting second baseman, for only $6 million, which is a pretty good deal. Red Sox don't have a second baseman. And the Red Sox signings so far haven't exactly lit the fans' enthusiasm.
What do you mean they don't have a second baseman? Pedroia's coming back.
Yeah, sure. I think
He's feeling great.
I think I and Pedroia have the same chance of playing second this year for the Red Sox.
They haven't had a second baseman since he got hurt. What a difference there at second.
Yeah.
He used to control that whole right side, and balls were getting through the infield. It was unbelievable. Even with Holt, who I really like, you know.
Holt's a great guy. He's a great community guy. He's a good utility player. And he's probably going to make $7 or $8 million a year, which is nothing to sneeze at. So God knows where his landing spot is going to be. But the Yankees have a rotation now with Cole, Severino, Paxton, Tanaka, and Hermain. So, I mean, there's no weak spot among those 5 guys. All right, you have to stay healthy, and all pitchers are at risk for not being healthy. And if you want to compare them to the Red Sox, right now, Price is a suspect, Sale is a suspect, and then they don't really have much. I mean, Eduardo Rodriguez is probably their best pitcher who's not hurt.
But, you know, for a while now, Ron, that was the one thing the Red Sox always had over the Yankees, starting pitching. But when you look at the Yankees' rotation now, if they don't have injuries, they're unbelievable.
They still have Montgomery as a 6th guy. So,
and a couple of guys, younger guys that were pitching good. I don't know what they're going to do with them down in AAA.
Right. So you'd have to say the Yankees are the prohibitive favorite. The Red Sox, the only talk that they're making is how they can get under the $208 million luxury tax threshold, which if you're a fan who's paying good money, it's hard to be excited about your team cutting payroll so they can save money. You know, especially when Mookie Betts is, you know, there was talk about him going to the Dodgers, but when you're only getting him for 1 year and the other team's got to pay an estimated $27 million, they're not going to throw prospects at you.
No, they're going to keep Betts. They're going to keep Betts and hope they have to sign him. How long is Martinez going to last in that lineup? You know, I mean, the one bad mistake Cashman has made. He's made a lot of real good decisions over the last couple of years, but taking Stanton over Martinez cost them at least one championship already. But that aside, though, the Yankees have to be favored, big-time favorites now.
I mean, Martinez came back to the Red Sox because there wasn't an enormous market for him at the price that was available relative to what I think he's making $22 million this year with the Red Sox. So he's not a great defender. He's an okay defender in the outfield. Now, if the Red Sox are going to trade Price, if you look at a guy, Price is probably not better than Keuchel. If Keuchel gets 3 years, $55 million, so other teams are going to say, look, we're not paying more than that much money, so you're going to have to take the rest of the contract, or you're going to have to throw in another player. Teams want Benintendi because he's on a bad year. I think it's a bad idea to sell low on Benintendi. I don't know what the deal was. People said he bulked up, he wanted to hit home runs. Well, he didn't hit home runs, and he struck out a ton last year.
Would you make this deal, Stanton and Sanchez to the Red Sox for Martinez and Velasquez?
Vasquez, you mean?
Vasquez.
Well, the Red Sox don't have any catch. Oh, you mean
Sanchez for the
Sanchez.
Yankees and Stanton for Martinez and Vasquez.
why would the Yankees want to do it?
To get rid of Sanchez and Stanton, neither one of them come through in the playoffs. Then you got a good hitter in Martinez who you know is going to hit, and you got a good defensive catcher instead of Sanchez.
Well, the
back
problem
there.
is you're inheriting so much money on the
But as a Red Sox,
on this,
as a GM for the Red Sox, would you
I
make
wouldn't
that
do
deal?
it because all the money. Stanton must have 7 or 8 years
Say the
left.
Yankees $10 million of that.
10 per year.
Yeah.
Yeah, for $10 million a year, sure. So that's a
If
great.
I were the Yankees, I'd make that deal in a minute.
That's a great discussion, though. It would probably help. It'd probably help both teams in the short run.
They're stuck with Sanchez because he has 1 or 2 good months, and the rest of the time he just strikes out in key situations.
What's his contract situation? I don't even
I think he
know.
was making $10 million a year for so many years.
Okay, not. It's funny when we talk about $10 million like it's nothing.
No, compared to the money they're making, the teams are making.
Right.
But the
So-
Yankees, that's the problem the Yankees are always going to have in the playoffs. You got Stan and Sanchez who strike out in key situations, don't make contact. You
Yeah.
get Vasquez, he hit .290 this year. You get Martinez, who you know is going to be a good hitter, steady hitter.
Well, Betances is a free agent, right?
Yeah, but I think they're going to be signing him.
I mean, there was talk about he's looking for $10 million a year just for 1 year because he has to reestablish his value. Although, to me, if you're a setup guy, how much more than $10 million are you going to pay for a setup guy?
I know. That's
mean-
a lot of money.
I
But
guess so.
they should try to keep him, though. If he's back, if he's completely healthy now.
And then the Players Association has filed a grievance on the behalf of Jacoby Ellsbury because the Yankees are trying to say that he shouldn't get paid because he sought medical help outside their system.
That's not going to work. What does he have, 1 more year?
1 year, $23 million, I think. So, I mean, he's going to get the money. So the owners never win. It's not the players it's not the players' fault if the owners want to pay you too much money. That's your choice. The Red Sox still haven't decided. I mean, they've decided to offer arbitration to Jackie Bradley. The estimate is that they could get that he's going to get about $11 million. He has 1 good month a year hitting, and defensively was a little bit soft last year relative to, I think, previous years. So, more power to him. If you work 2 or 3 years at $10 million a year, I don't think you should have to worry about where your next meal is coming from the rest of your life. So, not so bad. The Bruins have been kind of in a major funk lately. They've only won 1 game in the last 9. They've lost a bunch of games in the shootout. I don't really know I've watched some of the games, not all of the games, so I don't exactly know if there's a problem where it's a long season and maybe they're not that motivated.
That's what's happening. That first line, they get a little tired. They got talent. They got a ton of talent. So they're going to be right in it.
Marchand and Pasternak are 4 and 5 in scoring. Pasternak's got 28 goals.
What did they end up doing last night? They were up 3-2.
They lost in overtime. So, I mean,
They blow the lead at the end again?
No, they tied the game late and then lost in overtime. So I don't remember the last time I saw them win a shootout game.
No, they're 0-6 now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why I can't remember it.
Yeah.
So, and we get all excited during a game when we have a breakaway, but you couldn't have a better situation than in the shootout, and they don't score in the shootout. So I don't know what the issue is there. As for the Celtics, they've got a lot of injuries. Smart, you seem to know more about his eye problem than I do. Ralph said it's a viral problem, and certainly you can have either herpes simplex or herpes zoster with eye problems, but Smart doesn't look like he's close to coming back. Hayward just had a cortisone injection in his foot, an MRI that was supposedly negative. It's never that great when guys that are 6'8" and 240 pounds have foot problems because there's so much strain on the bones.
What are they saying about today? Is he going to play?
I don't think so. And then Robert Williams has had a hip problem.
He's always hurt, Williams.
Fortunately, between Tice and Cantor, they've been okay. I mean, Cantor comes as advertised.
And what about the big guy? Fall.
Oh, yeah, Taco Fall. It was totally absurd the other day. The fans are chanting to bring in Taco, and I mean, he's enormous.
Wait until today, they'll be chanting for Taco.
You know, and he got 5 points in 5 or 6 minutes, and
His bad move was trying to dribble the ball over half court.
yeah. He is enormous, though. I mean, he's going to have a career if he stays healthy.
The people in the know, I mean, we're rooting for him, but the people really in the know say, no way.
Yeah,
But I think he can be effective, like over 4-minute spans.
Yeah, I think that.
You want to go into a zone. Bring him in and let him play the middle.
I mean, we all remember when Henry Finkel was playing backup center behind Cowens, and now Finkel was an All-American in college and went to the tournament. And I don't know how many championships he won with the Celtics, but still lives in the area. Great guy. Really.
Well, you know him. He's one of your patients, right?
No, he's not my patient.
I thought you met him one time.
I did. He wandered into my office one time.
Then he's a patient.
No. So I wasn't taking care of him. But anyway, it was so funny. So he comes in, and I said, "Hi, Mr. Finkel. I'm really excited. I've never met an office furniture magnate before." And he laughed, because after his career, he went into office furniture. But very nice man. I've run into him he's around. You'll run into him. If you're at a restaurant or shopping mall, whatever, you'll see him because he's 7 feet tall. How can you not see him? But really nice man. Anyway, so what can we say about the Celtics? We can say that it was a good move to sign Jaylen Brown because he looks like he's the real deal. He's averaging 20.7 rebounds, a couple assists.
Points.
He plays
20.7
rebounds. He's not trying to just shoot threes. He's quick enough and strong enough that he can get to the basket on just about everybody. And he plays hard defense. So, he's not saying he's a finished product, but he looks like he'll be a borderline all-star, maybe an all-star someday.
Well, the big thing is that what I don't want to see happen, either him or Tatum going to make the all-star team, I think, have a chance. I hope it's not Tatum over him, because there's no way Tatum's the player that Brown is. And I was a big Tatum fan the first year. I mean, I loved him. But he doesn't play Brown way better defensively. He's a better scorer. Tatum needs his shots to score. Tatum's shooting 40%. Brown's up at 48%.
Yeah, he's
year.
like 37-7 on threes, Brown, and he's almost 50% overall shooting. So, he makes a lot of layups, but that counts.
But this is a perfect situation for Tatum. You don't think Tatum's happy that Smart's out?
Oh.
And you don't think he's happy that Hayward's out?
Yeah, no, of course. He gets more minutes and more shots.
And know what that adds up to, more money after this year.
Yeah.
If he averages around 20 points a game, a little more, he's getting just about whatever he wants. Because if he goes on the free agent market, he's going to get a max contract.
And Kemba Walker doesn't seem to need as many shots. Like the other night, Kemba he couldn't throw it in the ocean the other night.
He didn't have a basket. Is that probably the
No,
only
I think
game?
I think he wound up
2
with
points,
two
two
points,
free throws.
11 assists, something like that. So it was just.
But he's been playing real good, though,
Yeah.
up until that.
And Detroit didn't have a lot. Drummond is a beast, but other than that.
They had that kid Brown that played at Wakefield. He's getting his minutes.
Yeah, so overall, the Celtics, it doesn't look like anybody's getting by Milwaukee in the East right now. Although Toronto's got injuries. I think Siakam's hurt.
Celtics play Toronto Christmas Day up at Toronto.
Oh, right, at noon. So now that's interesting because will Enes Kanter go to, I don't know if Kanter will leave the country because Turkey has put out some kind of international warrant or something for him because he's been anti the totalitarian government of Erdogan over there. So I'm pretty sure he can't go outside the U.S. But it'll be interesting. Without Siakam, the Celtics should be able to win, but they have, I don't even remember the last time they won in Toronto. Probably it hasn't been recently.
No, they should. Siakam's out.
Yeah, I think so.
So if he's out, they should be able to win that game. Although the Celtics going to be light, too.
They play somebody bad today. Is it Atlanta?
I think they're playing Washington, aren't they? Is it Washington?
Somebody bad. So.
Well, they see their schedule over the next 10 games. 8 of them are under 500. So they have a chance to really, have a real good record after that.
Yeah, the strong teams right now, the Lakers have been outstanding. The Bucks have been outstanding. Between LeBron James and Anthony Davis, Rondo's out there also, isn't he? So, ideal situation for the Lakers.
They were terrible against Milwaukee that game. I mean, Davis had a real good second half, ended up with 36 points. LeBron was okay, but the Greek Freak was really good. That team's tough. Celtics match up good against Milwaukee, though, even though they got swept last year with this team now.
Well, of course, I think 3 right now is probably Philadelphia over Miami. And Philadelphia, somehow I feel like they can beat Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, Philadelphia's not the team. I mean, they lost not only Redick from last year, they lose Butler.
Yeah.
And they lost O'Connell, too, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. What's been good for the Celtics lately is Grant Williams is getting some minutes. He's not going to be a great player, but I think he'll be an okay player.
He had a real good game last game. If he could play like that,
right?
And then the rest of the guys fit in. But I'm down on Tatum, but you need Tatum. You need Tatum to take the shots, even though he's not hitting them a lot. He's inconsistent. You need him to score points.
Well, I like him going to the basket and taking disciplined threes. He takes some bad threes.
But then sometimes he's got his mindset. He's got his mindset that he's shooting the ball, so he does his dribbling.
Well, right. We always talk about players who have a clock in their head, and the clock is saying it's my turn to shoot.
Yeah.
And he's definitely that kind of guy.
If he hasn't taken a shot the 3 previous possessions, he's going to take it when he gets his hands on it. But there's games where he looks like a star, but there's too many games that he plays okay, gets his points because he takes 22 shots. And he hits 7 or 8 out of them, hits a couple of foul shots, and he's up around 20. But I'd like to see him get more consistent like Brown.
It's our last show of the year. That's probably a big relief for most of you.
And I'm freezing right now.
I've enjoyed being with you tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph Lavella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.